Welcome back to Success with Steven. My name is Steven Smith. On this channel, we talk about all things financial literacy. And today we're going to be talking about increasing your American Express credit limit, but we're going to be talking about the pay over time limit. With this, I was able to actually go from a gold American Express charge card that had a $50,000 pay over time limit. It eventually got upgraded to a platinum card, which then got it to a $75,000 pay over time limit. And then I requested a $100,000 increase, which I was approved for. And that was about 2 days ago. I posted in the community tab. With that being said, this entire process played out in around 6 months. And not only will we be going through exactly how I did this, I'm just going to show you my account. Instead of just doing a step-by-step, I can just show you exactly what I did on the account. I think that'll be more imperative when you get the information and you can actually just see it as opposed to me just telling you. I want to also talk about the pay over time limit, how this is a charge card and what a charge card is. We talked about that, but we'll go over it again. And it's basically the same as a credit card. We'll also talk about the pros and the cons of having the pay over time limit and the advantages that you can have if you're using this for business. Now, this is on a American Express Platinum business credit card, but the pay over time limit applies to all the charge cards. So again, we'll be discussing a few different ones, but the most important thing is the pros and cons, how you can use this. I'm usually going to be referring to business when I'm talking about this, because for your personal credit limit, if you just are spending it on regular transactions for your day to day, I don't really see how anyone really need this much limit. But for business, I can definitely think of a few things that I can take advantage of by using this much limit. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's first talk about what a charge card actually is. Again, we mentioned this before, but I do want to touch on it once again. So with a charge card with American Express, you'll need to pay off the balance in full each month. Charge cards do not have a preset spending limit. You have buying power, where you can actually request and see how much that you can actually spend. You also have pay over time, which is a limit that you have with how much you can actually pay and carry over with interest, but we'll get into that. So although that does not mean unlimited spending, because just because you don't have a limit does not mean that you can just spend as much as you would like, your purchases are approved based on a range of factors as you use your card, and AMEX will adjust how much you can spend on your card. That's another thing that we're going to talk about, how you can basically give signals to let American Express know that you need a larger pay over time limit, or that you need to have a higher amount of spending power. And again, even though it's not a set limit, I think this can sometimes actually be better, because you really can. I think that they're a lot more lenient when it comes to pay over time. But charge card, to put it simply, it is where you have to pay the full balance. You have to pay the balance in full every single month. But again, if you are using a credit card, that's something that you should be doing anyway. You're not carrying it over interest unless it's a promotion or something like that. But normally you shouldn't carry over interest anyway. So pay over time by American Express is a single extended repayment feature offered to specific cardholders. It allows for a little more flexibility when it comes to paying off a card by giving the option to actually carry a balance over. So normally with a charge card, the balance has to be paid in full. So if I spent $50,000, I'm expected to pay that $50,000 at the end of my statement. With the pay over time, it essentially makes this a regular credit card, right? Because you can carry a balance over and pay interest on it, which you could do on any credit card. So essentially, pay over time turns what would traditionally be considered a charge card into a traditional credit card. So however you guys want to say it, however you want to spin it, this is essentially just like a credit card. It really is no different. They just called it something else, but that's pretty much what it is. So American Express's pay over time feature, in theory, it adds flexibility for those needing a little more time to pay off their balances. In reality, though, this feature does come with hefty interest charges. So if you are considering using the pay over time, you want to make sure that you have all the details before you actually utilize this feature. And although carrying a balance is usually, for the most part, carrying a balance is never recommended. Like I said before, I'll say it again, credit cards are one of the most predatory lending products ever. The interest rates are astronomical, and they can be good. They can also be bad. It just depends on you. It depends on how you use it. If you're using this for, creating income, then you can make it make sense sometimes, even having the interest charge. But if you're just spending it on just frivolous things, then it doesn't make sense at all. So with a little knowledge and some smart planning, you can maximize this option with avoiding getting hit with a hefty interest charge. And we're going to go over the pros and cons next, but I'm going to give you specific examples where it might make sense for you to use it and then where it may not make sense. So you use your discernment and your business aptitude, because we all do different things. I don't know if you're in construction, if you're in real estate, if you're in e-commerce, if you're in whatever business that you do, you know your business. I'm not going to tell you how to run your business, but if you are planning this the right way, this can actually help you a lot. If you use this strategically, you may have up to 45 days without paying this card. And I'm going to give you an example. So we're going to go over to the American Express website. They have this really cool calculator for pay over time where it actually will show you interest. And we're going to give you some I'm going to give you some examples of when this might make sense. So we are on the American Express website, pay over time for businesses and how it works. Again, for me, this is a business card. And that's why, I'm using it. It's for business purposes. So it's not going to be for personal use. If you're using this for personal, I can't really see how that would ever make sense. But what amount would you like to pay over time? So I'm just going to give you an example of how much it costs for interest. Let's say you spent $100,000. I like to use extremes because then everything else we're working our way down. So let's say you did $100,000. How many days would you like the balance to revolve? Let's just say for one day. So you would pay $63 per day for $100,000. Now that is a lot of interest. Let's say you did it for a month. You're going to pay $1,890 in 1 month to basically service that charge, that pay over time balance of $100,000. Let's say you kept it for a year. You would end up paying $22,995 in interest. That is a lot of money. And this is at actually an interest rate that's not even normal, 14.99. Let's actually scale this up because that's not right. 19.99. And I bet you the interest is going to be higher than 19.99. So let's go back and look at that again with a more realistic. Let's just everything with the highest amount that we could possibly show. So one day would be $76.70. 1 month will be $2,301. Now, here's why I said you might have 45 days. If you were to make a transaction, the date your statement cycle date started, because charge cards still have statement cycle dates like regular credit cards, at least the American Express ones do. All right. You started a transaction of $100,000 on that day. You now have about 30 days from when your statement cycle date will close. And then you have 15 days for when it's going to be due again for most of us. I think it can range up to 60, kind of depends on when it falls. But let's just say 45. You have 45 days to take $100,000 and turn it into whatever you're going to turn it into. Now, again, for me, I have things that I do where I've said it before, where I buy inventory or make purchases and I plan on how much money I'm going to get back in that particular amount of time, but I also mitigate risk. If you can make back your money in 30 days, well, it's zero. You pay no interest. Let's say it took you 45 days to make your money. Well, you're only going to pay interest for 15 days if you could pay off that balance. So you're going to pay $1,150. Now, if you took that 100,000 and you turned it into 130,000 and you made $30,000 in profit, you would then make $30,000 minus $1,150.50, whatever it took you. Now, if this was going to take you more than 30 days, $2,301, it's up to, which is essentially you'd have 60 days to actually pay this off, but it will only be about it would really only be about 15 days of interest, but I'm just going to put 30 here anyway. You have that much time to figure out if you can make that money back, or it's only going to cost you this much money in order for you to actually get a profit. Now, again, this goes to your discernment and everything is relative. I don't believe you should use pay over time for more money than what you feasibly have in your account. So if you don't have $100,000 in your account, I don't recommend you play with $100,000. That's just not going to make sense. But let's say you play with $4,000. Well, if you spent $4,000 in 30 days, it's only $92.04. What if it took you 2 months to make that back and you made $12,000? Well, you pay $4,092.04, and then you made a $8,000 minus the 42 minus the 92.04. You made that much profit. It's up to you to determine how much this will make sense. So this can be useful, but it's one of those things where it could also be risky. It's almost like a net 30, or you can call it like a net 45 type loan with high interest once you get past that 45-day time frame. If you spend the money on your very first day of a new statement cycle. Now, there's another way that you can use this where you could get 90 days. Remember, I put out a video recently where I talked about the American Express Plum card. Now, the Plum card has the same thing. It has pay over time. But let's go to the Plum card for 1 second so I could show you how great that might actually be if you combine pay over time with that particular American Express card. All right, now we're looking at the Plum card again. And as you can see, it's no preset spending limit. You also have the pay over time option for this one as well. So this is one of the things that I actually like. You can also choose your billing cycle date. So choose the time most convenient for your business to receive your bill each month. Just let us know and we'll adjust it for you. So that's the best part about this card. It has cash flow flexibility. So if you were to actually get this card, right, using the same strategy that I just talked about, when you need more time, we've got your back with up to 60 days to pay without interest. Just pay your minimum payment due by your payment due date. So remember what I said. If you were to make a purchase for something or a transaction on the very first day of your statement cycle date, that's when the 30 days start. When that statement cycle date closes, you now have 60 days to pay without interest. If you look at it in totality, you actually have up to 90 days to pay with no interest. So let's say you spent $50,000 in your pay over time limit. You now have potentially 90 days to now pay that back. If you are someone who can figure out how to take $50,000 and make a return within 90 days, then this would make sense. You would be able to do it. Now, like I told people, you have to be responsible. There are things that I've done with my own money where I've spent money. I've turned 5,000 to 15,000, but I did it with my own money. That way, no matter what happened, I could take as much time as I want. I could take a year if I wanted to, because I'm not going to get charged any additional for spending my money. You should take that time to learn, to figure out an industry. Again, if you know your industry, I can't tell you anything. If you know it, if you've done this, if you're experienced, then you will know the risk. There are certain things that I do where I'm like, well, I need to make sure I could do this and I could have unlimited amount of time to make back my return, or I'm pretty confident I can make this back in this amount of time. But if I can't, I can handle servicing this debt. I can handle it. If you can't handle it, that's how you fail. That's how you get in big trouble. But in my opinion, this is a great strategy for you to have access to large amounts of capital and then to be able to give yourself a nice cushion of time to then make it back. And someone in the comments, shout out to that person. I hope you're watching this video because you guys gave me a very, very good gem. They told me that they open net 30 accounts, net 30, net 60. Some of them are net 180 terms, where they open up that account with a merchant. They do the net 30 first, then they put it on the Plum card. So then they have 90 days plus the 30 days. Now you have 120 days. If you have a net 60, you could potentially have 6 months to actually make back that money. That is a super, super smart plan. That is super smart, because then even if you make back your profit a little bit at a time, you can then gain some extra cash, capital, and you can then pay it back as you go. It's really, really awesome. I think that's an amazing idea. and I don't have it pulled up, so I can't see what your handle is. But man, shout out to you. That is a very, very intelligent strategy, and I want to make sure that you got mentioned for that. It's on my Plum video, but yeah, man, shout out to you. That's an excellent strategy. So these are the pros. All right, I gave you all the pros, the way that you can use this pay over time limit, and it works, as you can see, just like a credit card. Now we're gonna go over, briefly, a few of the cons, and then we'll talk about how I was able to actually get up to this limit. Now, for the con, some of the things I already mentioned, but I do want to talk about if you're trying to use this for like your personal card. And although pay over time is an option, I recommend just avoiding it, since paying interest will negate any point value. So some people do this and try to use it for like travel hacking and things like that. Unless you're using it for something that makes you money, I don't think it really is useful. Here's another good thing. I'm not sure if with charge cards on your personal credit, it actually reports utilization, because technically you have no credit limit. So it may not actually affect you on the personal side. So on that end, you might be okay, but I'm not actually 100% sure. That's just things that I have read. If you guys know, I don't have a personal Amex that I have. All my cards are all business, because I don't want anything new added to my personal credit report at this time. So if you guys know that, if you know that your personal American Express card does not report utilization, then, verify that in the comments below for other people. Again, maybe someone might look at that and say, oh, that's pretty cool. They'll like that. It won't bring down their credit score. But when you can just get a business card and for sure it won't show up, I don't see why you would want to put it on your personal. And you're going to get much higher pay over time limits on your business than you will on personal, for sure. That I'm certain of. But yeah, it negates any point value, and always paying off your balance in full is really the best thing that you can do. And I don't know about most people, but credit cards can tempt people to spend more money. These things to me are just debt weapons. They're just things that how we used to play like Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I see each of my credit cards like a Yu-Gi-Oh card with a special ability. That's how I use them. I use them like that. I use them like, oh, here's my Plum card. With the Plum card, I have 90 days, no interest. Oh, here's my business Inc card from Chase. Oh, I got 0% APR for 12 months with 10,000. Oh, here's this one. I got 25,000 with 0%. Plus I get 2% back, cash back. I look at them like that. I just use them to do whatever it is that I can, take advantage of to help me get to my ultimate goal of purchasing more assets and then making passive income from my assets. That's my ultimate goal, and that's all I use them for. Everything is just a tool. I don't use them for personal leisure. I would never use them for a vacation. I would never use them for anything. You want to take a vacation? Use your Amex card, spend money on it to make money, and get travel points and travel for free. If you want to learn about travel hacking, I could talk about that. I actually do it. I just never talk about it. But if you want to learn about that and you want to take trips and you want to do things, have your points and your credit cards that you get, have that pay for anything that you want to do. Have it pay with welcome bonuses, but you shouldn't be paying for that personally. Have your business pay for it, or have your rewards and your points pay for it. And if you want to know when is a good time to take a vacation, when you have enough points to do it. That's when you take a vacation. And if you don't have enough points, you clearly haven't done enough work. Go back to work. That's how I see it, but that's just my rule of thumb. Now, with that being said, let's talk about pay over time and how you actually can get this increase. And I was gonna write this down or put it into a slide, but I thought to myself, well, I can just show people exactly what I did. I think that's easier for you to understand, and it just gives more proof to this method actually being feasible and you actually being able to do it. So I'm going to go to my American Express account, and we're just going to go over how much money I've spent over the last 6 months. And then we're going to go over how many transactions that I've made. And I think between those two things, we can kind of get an idea of what will give American Express the signal to increase this pay over time limit. All right, so we are logged into my American Express account. I'm just going to show my balance details. It lets you know here Pay over time limit is 100,000, and this is the available. I also want to show you the APR so you guys know exactly how high this thing is. All right, because the APR is very, very high. It's not cheap. So, you have an idea of what borrowing will actually do. So pay over time option, it's a 25.49% variable. That is a very, very high rate. I believe that you can call American Express and you can ask them to lower the APR. I highly recommend trying to do that every 90 days to 6 months. I haven't done it yet because I'm not using this to charge any interest. I'm not. So, when the time comes, that's the first thing that I would do. So just another tip, if you're going to be using it and you intend to carry over a balance, contact American Express first to get that APR lowered. I actually found the payment activity first. Let's just talk about this for 1 second. On this card, I have made 20 payments and I've had 6 statements. I'll show you all of the statements, but it's been 6. So that means I made 3.33 payments every single statement cycle date. So tip number 1, I would say, obviously, you want to have a high velocity of payments. I will also say that I had a lot of transactions. I would say I had between probably like 20 to 30 transactions every single month. I think the increase of my spend kind of gave American Express an idea of, I'm using this card very actively. So you want to do a lot of transactions, I would say between 20 and 30, and you want to make 3 payments throughout the statement cycle date. So make maybe one at the beginning, one in the middle, and one at the end. Make 3 payments. And, it doesn't have to, I don't think that the amount matters, but we can go ahead and take a look at exactly how much I've spent in totality in this 6-month time frame. So year to date, it shows I've spent $12,526.83. So I would say with the balance of $1,400 currently, I've spent about, let's just say $14,000 on this card in 6 months. $14,000. If we take that by 6, it's somewhere around like $2,300, somewhere in that range. I've spent around $2,300 per month for the last 6 months. I don't think the amount really matters. I think it's the amount of transactions and it's how many payments that you've made. So I would say in order for you to actually get this payment, in order for you to actually get this pay over time limit to 100,000, I would recommend making 3 payments in each statement cycle date. I would also recommend you making at least 20 to 30 transactions. Again, I don't think the amount matters, but that's just so you know that's kind of how much that I've spent. Around $2,300 on this card per month. Now, with that being said, I did go from the gold card. And when I went from the gold card, it took me exactly 90 days. Then they gave me the increase. I didn't have to ask. I then did this, which was 2 days ago. And then I requested the 100,000. Now I probably could have requested more and gotten more. I just did 100,000 just because it was a nice even number, a nice even round number. But my recommendation is that you go ahead, make 20 to 30 transactions, pay 3 times in your statement cycle date. Make sure that never late, and pay them in full. And in 90 days, request an increase. Then 90 days after that, you can request another increase. Now, I think this is relative to where you start. If you start at 75,000, which some people do, then you can request a $25,000 increase, and you can do that within 90 days. You can also go ahead and you can, do it within 60. There's an option where you can request for an increase. And if you request for an increase too frequently, it's grayed out. You'll know that you could do it because it'll be colored in. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. So I was trying to show you guys, but it says we're currently reviewing your previously submitted credit limit increase request and are unable to submit an additional request at this time. So I can't actually show you right now, but there is an option where you get to submit a credit line increase or pay over time increase. And when you can't do it on the website, it looks like this. I always do it over my phone, but when you can't do it, it's like this. It's grayed out and you won't see it. But when you can do it, it becomes blue. that's how you'll know that you have the ability to request it. From what I've seen, you normally can, like if you get a brand new Amex, use it like this: 30 to 20 transactions, make 3 payments within your statement cycle date. You'll probably go to it and notice, oh, after 60 days, I see I have the ability to request an increase. Now you can do it then. I recommend you waiting 90 because that's what I've done here. And really just because I just really wasn't, I really wasn't paying that much attention to it. If I'm being honest, I probably would have done it sooner like I did on my other cards, but you can just try that. I think this is a very, very simple process. All you have to do is just have high velocity of transactions and then high velocity of payments. I think that's it. I don't think it matters how much you spend. Those two things should get it done, and then giving it some time so they can actually monitor the way that you spend and the way that you make payments. If you spend a lot and you pay a lot, no reason why they shouldn't want to increase your pay over time limit. It just makes sense. You have really good habits of spending a lot. You have really good habits of paying a lot. That is probably the number one thing that American Express would like to see. So with that being said, I think that pretty much would wrap up exactly how I did this pay over time credit limit increase. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I do have a few other videos coming out, but I'm waiting on them. I just got the State Farm business credit card. I also just got the Associated Bank business credit card that's backed by Elon Financial. I think all last week, all I did was apply for cards that were backed by Elon Financial. They have a really good 0% APR for 18 months in balance transfers. I mean, if you are someone who makes money from using these cards and you see something like that, it's kind of hard to ignore. So I wanted to actually wait until I got the card so I could log on to the account and I could take a look at it. And then I applied for, I think I have another card coming with Greater Nevada Credit Union. And then I have another one with America First Credit Union. I did a credit card application with them. I also did they're not backed by Elon Financial, but I did a credit card application with them, and I did a business line of credit for $50,000. I talked to underwriting yesterday, and I'm still waiting on that to see what happens with that. And then I have 3 other Elon Financial backed cards. The Associated Bank one is approved. The Farmers one is approved. So I'll probably be talking about those going forward. And then once I have all the cards, I'll probably make a video because I'm not just getting credit cards just to get them. All of these things have a purpose, and then you're going to see the purpose in all of these things. And I think I talked a little bit about it in my Wells Fargo video months back. And in that video, I was telling you that this is my favorite time of year, like towards the end, like Q4. This is where I make the most money. This is where I get to heavily get my inventory. And this is how I'm going to probably do $100,000 in 4 or 5 months. Not to mention my trading that I never get to talk about, but that's going to be even more. I think between all of these things, I'm probably going to be doing like almost $400,000 by next year. I'm really excited about that, especially in the small amount of time that I've been able to slowly accumulate and then slowly actually work, build cash flow, set money aside to be able to do this, because I didn't do this with just credit cards. I did not. Everything that I've done has been cash flow. I just made money. So yeah, so I just want to let you, I've never used any of these credit cards now and got this far without having to use any of them. And I'm not in my first time really using them for business purposes is going to be next month. So if you guys want like a in-depth look on how that actually works, then I'll try to figure out a way to title it that makes sense, because it's more like, I would feel like it's more like a vlog of how you can definitely make money by leveraging debt, and then some of these things, how you can make money with a cash flowing business, because I do both. And both ways are recommended, but cash flow always comes first, because no matter what, I have more than enough money to pay back any debt that I have. I have no debt that's more than what I have in cash. So I don't have to worry about that. And I recommend that you do the same. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to figure out a way to like make it into like a little mini series maybe. Because this is my favorite time of the year where the most money is going to be made for me. and then it kind of helps me chill out the rest of the year. Like the rest of the year, I get to just do stuff like this. If YouTube does well, that's fine. If it don't, then I'm fine either way. So yeah, it just makes me not have to be very pressed about doing certain things, and that's a good, that's a good thing to have when you get a little bit of relief. So again, let me know if you guys are interested in that. I'll go ahead and start to figure out how I can make it make sense for this channel. And then we'll get to the end of next year and then we'll go from there. I might be making a new YouTube channel like I talked about previously. So I may not be on this one as much anymore, or maybe not at all. We'll have to, wait and see. But again, just let me know. I very, very much appreciate you guys watching, and you have a wonderful day.